Hi, boys and girls. Today I'm going to read The Emperor's Egg by Martin Jenkins and illustrated by Jane Chapman. This book is really cool because it is a story, but there are also facts about penguins in it as well. So listen carefully and you might learn something. So the first page has a little fun fact, so I'm going to read this. There are 17 kinds of penguins, but the emperor is the only one that breeds in Antarctica in midwinter. The adults arrive at their breeding areas often more than 100 miles from the open sea in late autumn. A few weeks later, the female lays her single egg and returns to the sea, leaving the male to keep the egg warm until it hatches a couple of months later. At first, the male and female take turns caring for the chick, but as soon as it's big enough to be left while both parents go fishing. But soon it is big enough to be left while both parents go fishing for its food in the sea. By the time it is 4 months old, the young penguin's coat of down has been replaced by adult feathers. It also now sets out for the sea, where it has to start taking care of itself. Only at 4 months old. Okay, here we go. Down at the very bottom of the world, there's a huge island that's almost completely covered in snow and ice. It's called Antarctica, and it's the coldest, windiest place on Earth. The weather's bad enough there in summer, but in winter, it's really terrible. It's hard to imagine anything actually living there. But wait, what's that shape over there? It can't be. Yes. It's a penguin. It's not just any old penguin either. It's a male emperor penguin, the biggest penguin in the world, and he's doing a very important job. Sorry, that's Mac. He's taking care of his egg. Male emperor penguins are about 4 feet tall, and the females are a little smaller. He didn't lay it himself, of course. His mate did that a few weeks ago. But very soon afterwards, she turned around and waddled off to the sea. That's where female emperor penguins spend most of the winter, swimming about, getting as fat as they can, eating as much as they can, and generally having a very nice time, as far as you can tell. Emperor penguins eat mainly fish, squid, and tiny shrimp-like animals called krill. Which leaves the father penguin stuck on the ice with his egg. Now, the most important thing about egg sitting is to stop your egg from getting cold. That means it has to be kept off the ice and out of the wind. And what better way to do that than to rest it on your feet and tuck it up right under your tummy, which is just what the father penguin does. Inside the egg, a penguin chick is starting to grow. If the egg gets cold, the chick can die. And that's how he'll stay for 2 whole months until his egg is ready to hatch. Can you imagine it? Standing around in the freezing cold with an egg on your feet for 2 whole months? Female emperor penguins lay 1 egg in May or June, which is the beginning of winter in Antarctica. That's kind of weird because that's the beginning of summer for us. What's more, there's nothing for the father penguin to eat on land, so that means 2 whole months with an egg on your feet and no dinner. I don't know about you, and because he's egg sitting. Oh, wait. I'm sorry, I read that part wrong. What's more, there's nothing for the father penguin to eat on land, and because he's egg sitting, he can't go off to the sea to feed. So that means 2 whole months with an egg on your feet and no dinner, or breakfast, or lunch, or snacks. And I don't know about you, but I would be very, very miserable. Luckily, the penguins don't seem to mind too much. They have thick feathers and lots of fat under their skin to help keep them warm. And when it gets really cold and windy, they all snuggle up together and shuffle over the ice in a great big huddle. Most of the time, the huddle trundles along very slowly, but sometimes when the penguins get to a particularly slippery slope, They slide down it on their tummies, pushing themselves along with their flippers, always remembering to take care of their egg and trying hard not to bump into each other. And that's how the father penguin spends his winter, until one day he hears a chip, chip, chip. Even though the males keep the egg tucked up right under their tummies when they slide, it sometimes can roll out and break. So that's kind of scary. His egg is starting to hatch. It takes a day or so, but finally the egg cracks right open, and out pops a baby chick. Now the father penguin has 2 jobs to do. He has to keep the chick warm, and he has to feed it. The chick is only about 6 inches tall at first, and much too small to keep warm by itself. But on what? The chick is too small to be taken off to the sea to catch food, and it can't be left behind on the ice. Well, deep down in the father penguin's throat, there's a pouch where he makes something like milk. And that's what he feeds to his hungry chick. The father penguin can make only enough of the milky stuff to feed his chick for a couple of weeks. But just as he's about to run out, a dot appears on the horizon. It gets closer and closer, and yes. Who do you think it is? It's Mom. She starts trumpeting hello, and the father penguin starts trumpeting hello, and the chick whistles. The racket goes on for hours, and it really does sound as if they're extremely pleased to see each other. Every adult penguin has its own special call, like a fingerprint. Chicks have their own special whistles, too. I didn't know that. As soon as things have calmed down, the mother penguin is sick right into her chick's mouth. Yuck, you may think. Yum, thinks the chick. And they gobble it all down. It's the mother's turn to take care of the chick now, while the father sets off to the sea for a well-earned meal of his own. About time, too. And that is the end. This is just the index of the book, so if you wanted to look up facts, you could. I hope you learned something. So it was kind of like a little story of how the penguin eggs grow and how the baby chicks are born, but it also had some really good facts. So I hope you learned something. And again, this is The Emperor's Egg by Martin Jenkins. Miss you all.